Presenting Home Chef Oven Ready Meals. They're as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1.
그래, 안심. 술술함에 쫓길 땐 BBQ 황금 올리브 소간식.
Hello. All right. Good evening, everyone. Um, Tana and Haley, I'll make you co-hosts. Whoever wants to share can share their screen. I'm going to show my screen first, though. Can everyone hear me? Thank you. Um, let's see here. And Michael. We'll get started in just a moment. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? All right, welcome everyone. We are in week 6. We don't have very much longer together, but kind of happy it's the end of the semester, but it's also kind of a crazy time. So I hope you're staying healthy and you're keeping up with everything. So today we're going to listen to our In the News presentation first, and then we'll go into a little bit of lecture and discussion on, excuse me, what we read this week about branding with products, branding with idols. And then the last part of the class today is going to be different. I'm going to teach you about how to use the Chicago Manual of Style and how to do Chicago style citations, which is a major component of the exit quiz this week. So be sure to look through the Chicago Manual of Style module prior to the exit quiz, and I'll talk about that. All right. Let's go with In the News from Tana, Haley, and Michael. I'll stop sharing, and then whichever one of you, do you guys know who's going to share the screen?
Yeah,
Michael's doing it.
Okay. I think I gave you permissions, Michael.
Sounds good. Give me a second. It's telling me I have to reopen Zoom really quick.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, it should be.
Okay, you should be able to share it.
Got it. Is it all good?
Let's see. Yes, looks good.
Sounds good. All right. So this week's topic was branding and commercials. And for our presentation, we did Blackpink's Jennie and her ambassadorship for Chanel. So Chanel's Coco Crush jewelry campaign has been an ongoing thing since 2015. However, each year they have an additional campaign and product line for the fine jewelry collection. The jewelry is made from gold, silver, and diamonds, all expensive materials, all are intentional choices to reflect the wealth, class, or elegance in the jewelry. And this is also the reason why Jennie was chosen to be an ambassador for Chanel in 2017. She reflects the elegance that's featured in the jewelry, and while she was made an ambassador in 2017, she continues to be featured in several modern articles published this year regarding her connection. And her involvement with the brand, as like stated in the reading for this week, it not only increases visibility to the product, but also increases visibility to Jennie and Blackpink, as well as giving financial incentive for her and her agency. Jennie stated in a YouTube video for the Coco Crush campaign that the images Chanel produces of her are an accurate representation of who she really is, rather than the persona that she puts on in the spotlight for Blackpink. And this infers that the involvement she has with Chanel not only emphasizes the elegance in the jewelry, but also emphasizes the elegance that Jennie carries as well. And this quote from the article I read, it was a Yahoo News article kind of focusing on Jennie and how she represents Chanel. I think that it highlights how she increases visibility to the brand and how she has the product reach a wider audience.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how Jennie is the embodiment of human Chanel, and then why that's important, and then a commercial she did with Chanel that kind of had some backlash. So she was given the title Human Chanel by her fans because she wears the brand so much. She's been the global brand ambassador for Chanel since 2018. It was like her first major luxury brand deal. And she's fit the role really well, often wearing like the classic like tweed ensembles that Chanel uses a lot, as well as wearing signature jewelry like the Coco Crush line really often. So she was also the face of Chanel's Coco Neige 2021 to 2022 campaign, in addition to representing the the Coco Crush jewelry line. She's also the face of the Chanel 22 bag. So all of this looks really good for the brand, like her representing the brand, but it also looks good for her because it shows her audience that she's like refined, elegant, and that she belongs in the fashion world, which gives her like this like really good, classy image. So here are some of the looks. Oh, go back. These are like some of the looks that like gave her the Human Chanel kind of name. Okay, you can go on. So this branding is really important to her career because she's no longer just like a K-pop artist. She's like now a multifaceted artist that both has a lot of influence in the music realm, but also in the fashion realm. It's also good publicity for Blackpink because it makes their music, or it makes their whole image really relevant in both spheres as well. Collaboration with K-pop artists also helps brands by making them relevant to younger audiences who may not be like quite aware of luxury brands yet. They help brands stay connected with wider audiences, and the fanatic behavior that comes with these collaborations is free publicity beyond the ads, which is really important. You can go on. This ad, however, sparked some controversy. It's called Coco Crush, Some Encounters You Wear Forever on YouTube. If some of you haven't seen it, it's like an animated ad for the Coco Crush line with Jenny. Fans didn't like it. Fans of Chanel didn't like it because they thought it was really off-brand and they didn't credit the animators. So that received some backlash. And then fans of Jenny thought that it bared no resemblance to Jenny. So that received some backlash. They thought it was like only the beauty mark that bears resemblance. But I mean, you can look at the similarities for yourself and decide what you think. I think she looks pretty similar, maybe just like the nose is different. Either way, like this is a very like minor mistake from a partnership that has had a like really symbiotic relationship. Like they both look really good for each other.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so as Tana mentioned earlier, Jenny's called the Human Chanel and is getting paid around $30 million for promoting them. Just this alone significantly helps her and her company profits rise. But we have to ask, like, why Chanel? Why such an expensive brand to promote? Well, in recent reports, they have told us that the estimated appearance by just one Blackpink member at an event is to cost, quote, in the high six figures. And some articles were even saying that it would cost more. Because of how expensive and difficult it is to get Blackpink to promote a business, smaller companies can't simply afford them to promote their products. But they are expensive for a reason. Jenny appeared this year in a March Chanel show and generated about 3.6 million in media impact value for Chanel. This one event alone caused many of her fans to buy Chanel and view the show. Then this caused Dior to do a similar thing. Jisoo, another member from Blackpink, then attended a Dior show and brought about 1 million in media value for Dior then as well. You can go to the next slide, please. Now, anyone can see that when Blackpink promotes a fashion brand, their fans will spend millions to try to dress the same as their idols. Fans will go out of their way to search up specific articles of clothing so that they can buy it and post on social media, so then everyone can dress the same as well. One of Blackpink's earlier fashion designers put the idea simply as she said, quote, South Korea is very trend driven, and if someone famous wears something, everyone goes after it. It creates a phenomenon, end quote. This phenomenon gives Jenny and her company and even the country of South Korea more profit in the end. Thank you.
Any questions?
Sorry. Great presentation. This was probably, to be honest, one of the best presentations we've had all mini master. You really explain this controversy, what's going on. You hit a lot of different angles about it. So everyone, you can put your questions in the chat. Thank you, Michael, for inviting questions. My question is, what exactly, I have a lot of questions actually, but what exactly is YG's response to this, and or has been their relationship with this contract? Because it seems like she's almost kind of being privately contracted with Chanel just to wear these items, um, rather than she is kind of freely purchasing them and then she wears them and then people then follow what she's wearing, if that makes sense. So what is YG, her home company's relationship with this?
I didn't see anything mentioned in the articles that I read regarding like her company's involvement. It was all just kind of centered around Jenny. Um, I'm not sure if that was different for Haley or Tana with theirs.
I also didn't really see anything, but like I do think obviously there is definitely some incentive to be wearing this clothing, but like it's also a luxury brand. Like it makes you look good. Like I'm sure it's not only the influence of this brand deal. I think it's also just like something really nice to wear, you know?
Yeah, I saw that like she personally was getting paid for the money instead of like YG getting paid. So I do think it is more of like a personal business for her. I didn't see much with YG and Chanel.
Good, interesting. Um, so we have a question from London, which is, how important do you think brand value is for idols as a whole?
I would say in this situation, it's extremely important for Jenny. As Haley said, like she is making a ton of money through this deal. Um, and it's also, I imagine, bringing in a ton of fans for her and Blackpink from Europe, as Chanel's like a brand that came from Paris. I imagine it brings a lot more international visibility for Blackpink in general, like aside from just the money. So she's not only benefiting like just financially, but also her image is growing as well.
I also saw something in the readings that said like idols don't make very much from like just the like music revenue. Like they like these brand deals are really important because it's a lot of their income, I guess. But I'm not sure if I like read that wrong or whatever.
No, that's correct. They don't make much money off of the music distribution and whatnot. So a lot of them actually have to supplement their income with this kind of endorsement, these kind of endorsement deals. And this is a case of a very, very nice endorsement deal, it would seem. Haley, did you have anything you wanted to add on that point?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. So from Allie, do you imagine these brand endorsements as restrictive to the idols?
I would imagine that they can be restrictive in terms of like the quote I gave in the second slide. Like she was dressed exclusively in Chanel for the Met Gala. So I imagine like she doesn't have a lot of creativity or freedom to dress how she might, or like to wear other brands she might like. But other than that, I think the restrictions are probably limited to like public events, something where it's in the contract that she has to wear Chanel. Otherwise, if she's just out going like walking on the street or something in Korea, I doubt she has to be dressed only in Chanel like every day.
Yeah, to go to the Met Gala, you have to be invited by a designer. So I'm assuming that Chanel invited her, or because she's clearly under contract with Chanel for other things, it was part of her contract to go to the Met Gala for Chanel and wear a Chanel outfit like that. And that's really true for all of the images I think that you all showed. Most of them were either events where they were either advertisements for Chanel, or they were events where I imagine she was specifically there for Chanel. Okay, let's see. So from Non, we have using her idol images would help her to promote the products, and because of the famous brands, they might be known because of that too. Do you guys think that it would be like a distraction to their focus on music and stuff? Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I think that is pretty situational. For it depends on the idol and the brand. I think in this situation, I don't think it distracts her from music and touring and everything like that, just because maybe the like financial benefits that she gets from this deal allows her to focus more on music because she doesn't really have to worry about money or anything like that. Um, yeah, I don't think in this situation it gets in the way too much.
I think it could get in the way a bit because it's like having another job. Like one of your jobs is the music and the other is being a brand ambassador for this company. Like you have to spend considerable amount of time to do that. But since they're getting a lot of money from it, I feel like it has its benefits. Like I don't think it's like a negative distraction. I feel like it's just another thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I think Tana said that well.
Yeah, I think it could be distracting for some groups, but I think in Blackpink's situation where they're not making music like as a group right now, and I think as we heard from another presentation that Lisa didn't even sign her contract. So I think that for them probably it's not distracting because they don't have music to work on right now as a group.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking about that too, because we started our mini mester talking about Lisa not re-signing her contract. So it's interesting to see that Jenny is also so involved in some other seemingly other contracts, kind of using her idol status, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the group in the coming few years with with the music versus all of their other endorsement kind of deals and everything like that. Great. All right. Thank you. These three did a great, excellent job. So thank you so much. Let's move into our conversation today. All right. So we're in chapter 3, branding K-pop. Last week we talked about branding the K, the Koreanness, and this week it's branding idols with products, branding products with idols, right? And here's Blackpink with their Reinvent Your World. This was an ad with Samsung, I believe, is what it was. What did I write down here? Yes. So, what are the pros and cons of music in commercials? So, we're going to take a little bit of a different look at these advertisements because we're going to be focusing a lot on the music and the visuals, not just like the idol endorsement necessarily. Um, so, from the reading, what did you get? What were some of the kind of things you had to think about if you were going to be using music in a commercial? Pros and cons. Good.
Uh,
Yes. So we have you can attract certain audiences or age groups, right, by using different kinds of music or particular kinds of music. Good. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Aaron brought out the word here, earworm. So earworm is it can be kind of a good or a bad thing. Kind of a good thing because it stays with your audience, right? And it makes them think back to the advertisement. But kind of bad because it is annoying for a lot of people. And as you read, a lot of you picked up on and read in the article, even in South Korea, they will ban some advertisements because of their earworm potential, right? But yes, good. Ben, this is a con here. It could possibly take away from actually the central message you want to send as an advertisement. You still have to be able to match the music with the product in a way, and it can be kind of hard to do that. And if you don't do that, it can really not work very well, right? It can actually do the opposite. And yes, emotions. Thank you, Tana. It could create this kind of emotional connection with your audience and use that to entice them to purchase your product. Exactly. So everyone did really well on identifying this theory that Malian K brings up right at the beginning, Claudia Ballerhan's theory of how music works in commercials, right? So it does three things. It's supposed to motivate the audience to listen about the product, which then gives you the opportunity as an advertiser to convey to the audience info about the product. And it helps your ability to convey that. It helps the audience understand that info if it matches properly, right? And then the earworm, right? It can stick with the audience. But if it doesn't fit the product, it can be very confusing, right, to the audience. And then too much repetition, like an earworm, can be very annoying to the audience. Exactly. So there's two ways of incorporating music in commercials, and let's check those out. So he used this word, he used both of these words, but he never really explained what they mean. And they're really not that complicated. So diegetic refers to when music is actually like the point of the commercial in a way. The actors in the commercial, they can hear the music and they're probably responding to the music, right? So let's watch this one together to see a diegetic use of music. I'm going to send this in the chat. Luckily, these are commercials, so they're not very long. We'll watch the whole thing and be thinking about how do you know as a viewer that the idol, who is Psy, who was the Gangnam Style guy, how do you know that he can hear the music, basically? Or how do you know that how can you know from what he's doing that the music is kind of the point of the commercial in a lot of ways? So what do you think? What is he doing? Yeah, exactly. He's dancing to the music. The whole thing is him doing the Gangnam Style type dance. I don't think he actually does the like real choreography to it necessarily, but obviously he can hear it. We know he can hear it, and it attracts our attention. What do we learn about the product from this, though? It's hot. Okay. What else? Anything else? It's very slurpable. Okay, there you go. Yeah. It's delicious. It's good. Yeah. What do you think they're trying to do with the ramen? Good. Here we go. London. There's an association with it with the song, right? Because they made the song the main point of the commercial, it associates the Shinramyeon with this Gangnam Style song. Why would you want to do that if you're a product in 2012? What do you think? Because the song is popular. Yeah, exactly. People are going to hear the song, they're going to know it. And then, so if they hear the song start to play on your commercial, they're going to know it. Maybe they'll be more willing to pay attention. And then they'll see, oh, Sai's eating shiramyun. So maybe I should eat it too. It was so popular, right? Yeah, exactly. Product association. All right. So then there's the opposite of this. And it's called very simply non-diegetic. And this just means that the music is underlying the commercials. It's still helpful to like kind of push the commercial forward. But the actors themselves, they don't perform it, they don't hear it, and they're not really trying to interact with it. And so this can be the case even with idol groups as well. They're not always performing their own music or promoting their own music through these commercials. So let's watch like the first two commercials in this one because they're similar but different. Why is this not? There we go. Let me send this one to you. And be thinking about what is the music doing versus what are the idols doing? All right, what do we think? What's going on with the music in these, the first, at least the first two? Yeah, very good, Tana. The music kind of follows like this very short narrative that's going on, right? So like the first one is kind of this very eerie kind of I don't know all the idols names in BTS. I'm sorry. I don't know their names, but he's kind of in this weird situation where he's running up the stairs. Maybe he's running from something, right? And the music is really eerie. Then he opens the door and all of the other BTS idols are in the room eating chicken and the music becomes happy, right? So there's that contrast there, right? It helps narrate what's going on. Good. Yeah, it helps create that drama. Yeah, exactly. Um, did either of you notice, recognize the music at all? Particularly in the second one, where he's looking at the moon. That's the second one, right? That's a really famous aria, actually, in classical music. They will often use something that they'll use like a classical music song because maybe people recognize it, but they don't necessarily know the name of it, like that kind of a thing. That's a lot of the times why classical music is used, but that's a really famous song that they used. So what are the idols doing then in this? And they're not listening to the music really. What are they doing? They're eating. Yeah, basically they're eating chicken, right? Exactly. And they're acting, yes. And they're doing like, yes, exactly. Very good, Ayana. And through their face, they're acting, they kind of very exaggeratedly are eating this chicken and makes it look like it's very delicious chicken, right? Yes, exactly, Cheney. Yeah, and exactly. Of course, you know, you would want BTS of all the groups. I don't know the exact years that these two commercials aired, and BTS has done a bunch of chicken commercials. Um, yeah, so you imagine BTS likes this chicken, so their fans will probably like it too, right? Yeah, exactly. So that's where they're doing it. But yeah, so these are kind of the two different ways that you can use the music and the idols. So let's talk a little bit more about K-pop idols in Korean advertisements. So there's a couple of different things. a lot of nuances between what we're used to in the United States and the way that celebrities endorse products and what happens in South Korea with K-pop idols. And a lot of you brought that up. So one of the big things is this concept. Did anyone recognize this in the article? This is on page 174. It's called High versus Low Context Cultures. Has anyone who is in learning languages or in East Asian languages and cultures heard of this? This is also a theory. What do you think? What does it kind of mean? What is it referring to? Or what would you assume that it refers to? It's not a very easy thing to explain. Okay, yeah. So tone and stuff can change communication. So uh maybe different ideas are communicated with different tones between languages. I guess that's possible, yeah. Yeah, exactly like what certain things mean. It's a little bit even more, it's even simpler than that, actually. Yes, good, London. Yeah, this is good. Like the way we use body language between cultures can be really different, right? So it basically just means that within different cultures, there's different ranges of the amount of direct information that is communicated, particularly in spoken language. So in a high context culture, it's theorized that there's a lot less direct information given to the listeners or the audience or whatever, and they're just kind of naturally expected to understand. And then in low context cultures, information is supposed to be very direct. You're supposed to explain things as much as possible to your audience, and that's seen as you shouldn't expect your audience to just get things in a lot of ways. So that's kind of the difference here. So which one is South Korea supposedly as opposed to the United States, according to the article? Yes, exactly. So South Korea is supposed to be a high context culture. It's kind of like they don't always feel the need, especially in advertisements and communication, to communicate everything. Some things are just understood because they're understood. And it's something that they just learn that over time because they grow up in that culture, right? And then the US and is kind of theorized to be a low context culture where that's not really the case. You're supposed to be very direct about what you communicate and tell, and particularly you're supposed to use a lot of verbal communication to communicate things. Good. So because of that, advertising is a little bit different, right? So what are some of the aspects that are important about an idol when trying to use them to advertise? What are things that advertisers think about, or even that idols think about, and things that audiences might think about? What are some of the factors that define or can make it so that an idol is a good fit or a product is a good fit? Good. So reputation and controversy. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's definitely it. That's definitely part of this. Has a certain reputation. What are more like identity things? What about identity? What kind of identities are really considered when choosing an idol for a product? What kind of identities do they think? Really simple. We talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago. We're like, oh, this is like everything in K-pop. This social convention. Yes, thank you, Cheney. Gender. Gender is so important, right? Well, kind of, right? What was the other one? A lot of you mentioned this in your blogs too. There's another one that it has to do with a number. Age. Yes, exactly. Age. Yeah. So gender and age are important, kind of, right? So it's kind of like different age groups of audiences have different preferences, and different genders of audiences have different preferences, right? But then one of the groups that's kind of changing that trend is BTS, right? So it seems like across the board, BTS is it's really not, they are approved by multiple age groups and between genders and everything, right? So because of the high context and because of this kind of issue as well, there seems to be this openness to like any celebrity, right, that can endorse a product. So he brought up this example of Psy endorsing like a beauty product of some kind. What do you think? Why would you want Psy to endorse your beauty product? It was for this brand Onur, which means today, but they spell it kind of differently. What was the connection? Is there a connection? What do you think? Yeah, maybe the older generation will just recognize him. Yeah, maybe not the older generation, but more like, I mean, people my age will recognize him, I think, and definitely older too. But yeah, that's a good idea, London. Psy generally, I can't remember what year this was. I think it was 2019, right? Psy generally has now a good reputation across all sorts of different age groups. Yeah, he's pretty relevant. He stays pretty relevant. Yeah. So I actually looked into this, and I guess Malianke didn't really do too much look into it. Psy was actually recruited to specifically promote a male like skin cream line, and that's what he was doing, or why he appears on these owner ads. But what do you see? What do you not see in, for example, this ad or in the other ad? What's kind of missing? Where does the high context come in? Yeah, the product. There's nothing about a skincare product or skin cream at all, at least visibly. I mean, he's holding this flower, but I would not know personally what this is supposed to be about. But hey, maybe you see it and then it gets you to look into it and you find out about the skin cream. I don't know. It seems a little convoluted for me, but like Malianke is saying, this is pretty common in South Korea. So controversies. So what are some kinds of controversies that can come up when trying to use idols in to endorse your products? What were some? There's two particular kinds of controversies that Malianke focused on. Yeah, so dating scandals, that can definitely be it. I don't think Malianke talks about those specifically, but definitely that. Yeah, plastic surgery and like beauty. So, that can definitely be a scandal or a controversy that can make the product look not as good. Yeah, the product itself may actually just be phony, right? It might not be a good product. So that was one of them. There was two more that he particularly talked about. So one of them was patriotism. So if you participate in particularly across do international promotions. So you go to Japan as a K-pop idol, you promote products there. Go to China was the one he was particularly talking about. Sometimes people in Korea might receive that as like anti-Korean in some way or for whatever reason. So it can make the idol not seem patriotic, and then that can cause a controversy for the actual product. And then the other one was audience interactions, right? So maybe the idol, because idols have such kind of close interactions with audiences sometimes, something that they can do online during a live stream or even during a fan when they're actually meeting fans, that can also have bad repercussions if it's kind of a controversial thing that they say or do or whatever in those moments. That can lead to a bad reputation for the product as well. Good. And now we get to something that is very unique to K-pop, or probably not unique to K-pop, but I really don't see it anywhere as much as I see it in K-pop. Music video commercials. So what are music video commercials? What makes it a music video commercial? This was a really famous one. Girls' Generation, Chocolate Love, for these Samsung phones that were called chocolates. And or not Samsung, LG, sorry. I get those two mixed up all the time. Good. So the music video is talking about the product, or it has the product in it. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a nuance, right? It's not that it really is talking about the product, at least not always, or very rarely does it, but the product is definitely there. It's in the music video. And yeah, Keely, that's a good way of putting it. It's sang by the idol group. It's an original song, but it's kind of promoting the product at the same time. And I think this is another interesting thing about it and a good way of thinking about it. What Haley says here is the song and video are made because of the product. So yeah, it's not just putting the product in a music video, but like the point of the music video is the product, but they don't really talk about the product. They just kind of show it a little bit. Yeah, but it's kind of an ad, but it's kind of not really. Yeah, so that's what's kind of hard about it. So there's a couple of like standard qualities of these types of music videos. So like we said, it's a new song release. So it can be a single, it can be on an album, but it is a song that gets released and you can purchase it as a song. These music videos, unlike commercials, they are full-length music videos. Sometimes the songs are shorter than average songs, but still, generally speaking, the music videos are a full-length music video, 3 minutes or more, unlike a commercial, which is supposed to be 30 seconds or less, right? There's not a lot of the direct information. So again, iterating, they don't talk about the product. They just kind of like show the product. And so because of that, the music and the visuals are more prominent, or the most prominent aspect of this kind of advertising, right? So you kind of have to like follow along with what the music video is hinting at, what the lyrics are hinting at, and what the visuals, kind of the Easter eggs of the product showing up, or the different symbols that are hidden and everything like that in them. So the whole point of this is, from this really summed up well in this quote, they intend for the commercials to connect with their target audience on an emotional level, which is what we've been talking about, right? So they're not really interested in being like, this is the product, but rather just kind of associating the product with the emotions that the audience receives from watching the music video or listening to the song. So what are some elements that you think that we've talked about in class, musical and visual elements, that would be important for you to look out for when you're trying to analyze the way that a product or a brand shows up in a K-pop music video? So musical ones. Good. Allie, you got a great visual one. But let's start with the musical ones. These ones are a little bit harder. Musical ones. I think there's two. There's definitely two. Yes, lyrics. Lyrics are very important. So the content of the lyrics. So remember, they're not necessarily going to tell you something directly about the product, but they might be saying something that you can relate to the product. And we're going to see example of that when we practice this here in a moment. What's another one? So catchy. Catchy is good. Catchy is definitely a part of the musical kind of analysis portion of it. I think though, more so you might want to listen for like samples of other music in the music video. Sometimes they might, yeah, there we go. Musical adaptation, or like sounds. Yeah, like different sounds and things like that that might be referencing the product in some way. So you might want to look out for that. Okay. So visual. So we have props for visual from Allie. What else do we have? What do you think? What are some other things you'll want to look for? Logos kind of count. So remember, like on the music video analysis worksheet. So logos count as what, symbols. So props slash symbols, they kind of go together. One product are, props are tangible. Symbols are just purely visual in this sense. Outfits though, yes, outfits, absolutely. They might have something on their outfit that is referring back to the product. That's the first one I did, or in their makeup or something like that. The point choreo, that's a really good point too. I actually didn't put that one, but I did think of it later. The point choreo could be doing something, motioning that you could relate to the product. Absolutely. Using the product kind of counts as like props or symbols. What I was thinking is colors here. Colors, so they might use a particular color scheme throughout, or patterns throughout the music video that relate to the product or the company, or color schemes that somehow like highlight the product. And so you might want to look out for that. The same could be said for lighting. And then props and symbols, like we've been talking about, yeah. But yeah, point choreo, it could really be anything that we've discussed with visuals, but definitely those things. Okay, so let's practice this. So we're going to look at this song, which is from a few years ago, called Tabichina by Mamamoo. In English, this is called Gleam, which is a pretty good translation of the name. So be thinking about, just by watching this music video, maybe you've seen it already, maybe you haven't. If you're a fan of Mamamoo, you probably have. What is this music video a commercial for? What's it for? What product is it trying to promote? Let's just watch like the first... Actually, we can probably watch this whole thing, honestly. How long is this? I was thinking maybe the first minute, but it's only 3 minutes, and we have some time still. Why don't we do like a minute and a half, and then we'll come back. All right, so what is it for here? We have some answers. We have some answers already. What do you think? What's it for? Eyewear, glasses, eyeglasses, yeah. But what, just generally like glasses? Like, are they just kind of being like, go buy glasses? Or is there something even more specific for it? Luxury glasses, yeah, it's a type of kind of like high brand glasses. Has anyone heard of this brand? I hadn't heard of this brand. It's not Gentle Monster. Well, maybe I don't know as much as you do, Cheney, but Gentle Monster is not the name of the brand that I understand it to be. Anyone heard of this brand? So this is for Davichi Optical, or it's also called Davichi Optical. It's called Davichi Eyewear in Korean. Yeah, so not Gentle Monster, Davichi Optical. But see how like you just watched this music video and you knew it was about glasses, but you had no clue it was about this company, right? Particularly this company's glasses, right? So let's talk about some of the different ways that, and I hope this is, okay, yeah. So music. Some of you said, or London said, Tana also said, there's some ways in the lyrics that they talk about the frames or the glasses. What specifically in the lyrics did you hear? Or hopefully, I should have told you this. You should have watched it with, if you didn't watch it with captions, that's okay. But if you watch it with the English captions, you'll see some lyrics that show up that are kind of related to glasses or eyewear generally. Yes, Nada, very much so. They say, see clear. I think that's in the chorus. They say, or in the pre-chorus, I see clearly now, or something like that. Something along those lines. Seeing clearly. What else? There's a couple of other things. Gleam, yeah, gleam. Why is gleam related to glasses? How is that related to glasses? Yeah, because of the shine, because like glasses can gleam. Yeah, I mean, seeing is all about light, right? So being able to refract. I mean, this is so kind of not really convoluted, but really kind of a scientific way of thinking about it. But right, glasses refract the light in certain ways to help your eyes adjust when they are not able to do that. And so they're kind of like, by saying these like shining so bright, gleaming, see clearly now, they're kind of paying attention to that aspect. Did anyone see, this is actually a play on words. Does anyone see that? So the Korean name is Tabichi-na. 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 And the name of the company is Davichi in Korean. So Tabichi-na sounds like the way you would pronounce Davichi in Korean, Tabichi. So it's actually, you wouldn't know this unless you were really high level of Korean. You probably wouldn't get that, but it's a play on words. So that's why they actually chose this. I'm not sure if that's like on purpose with the name of the company itself, because I don't think this is a Korean company, but it was kind of a nice opportunity, I guess, to do that. Tabichi, so Tabichi-na means everything. Tabichi-na literally means everything lights up or everything shines. So you can see how not only is it the play on words, but the actual meaning goes along with the idea of glasses, right? Good. So visuals. What did you see that made you know that this was for eyeglasses or even Tavich optical? Yeah, so we can see here up in this top clip that I used, these like flamey looking, it kind of looks like a sun, a really stylized sun. This is actually the logo for Davich Optical. So it doesn't say Davich, but if you already know that that's the logo, I guess, then you're gonna know that is it. Or maybe it's like, if you're watching the music video, you might be like, what is that sun thing? And then you might look it up somehow, and then you would find out it's Davich. Yeah, glasses. There are so many glasses in this music video. I mean, probably countless. Somebody probably could count how many different glasses. But not only are there glasses, like Nada says here, they keep gesturing in the choreography, right? They keep gesturing to the glasses. Like I have here, this is Sully, right? She is like touching the glasses, or she's getting ready to touch the glasses. They keep like pushing them up or like pulling them down or whatever, there was one other visual thing that goes on a lot in this music video. Or Hwasa, thank you. So there was one thing. What did you notice about the like cinematography? Yeah, they use a lot of different lighting. What does the camera focus on? Close-ups. Yes, exactly. The camera focuses on these close-ups on their faces. A lot more. Oftentimes that happens in K-pop, but this is like really excessive, almost to the point where like you don't even really see what else is going on in this. The setting is really weird for this too. They're like in a bowling alley, but then there's like conveyor belts of glasses. It doesn't really make any sense. So maybe that's why they decided to do the close-up so much. Yeah, so good. All right, are there any questions about like anything that we've discussed so far? Because we're going to move into talking about Chicago style with the products in music videos, music video commercials. I think we get it, right? Okay. So this week's exit quiz, like I was saying, it's a little bit different than normal. So 7 of the questions are going to be about what we're about to talk about and the Chicago Manual of Style module. So really pay attention to the module and read and do things in it if you have not already, and pay attention to what we're about to talk about in just a minute. Only 3 of the questions are going to be about the article. So usually like all the questions about the article, but there won't be that many. And I assure you they're not very convoluted, and we've discussed all of these aspects in class today as well. So yeah, so I can't stress enough, please do the Chicago Manual Style module prior to the quiz. So let's talk about this. So for your final paper, you are going to be required to do citations, and you're going to need to have a notes and a bibliography section. A lot of you have already started doing this, and remember I said you don't need to worry about it. So for many of you, I have already like in your feedback, which hopefully you were looking at. I know I think everyone accessed their feedback. I commented in certain places where you need to cite something as a reference for what you're saying there. So pay attention to those. And for your final, when you turn in your final, make sure that you go through and cite something on those lines. Now, a big portion of the points on the final is going to be your citations, notes, bibliography. That's 20 points. But also these 3 scholarly sources that you need to cite, one of which cannot be from class. So I didn't notice anyone already attempting to cite anything we've read in class already. What you'll probably will want to do is add a citation to one of the chapters we read either in week 3 about music and about all the different elements of music, and why certain things like a hook is important, or different ways that idols incorporate genres, or different songs incorporate many genres and things like that. So that's by Jongmin Lee. Hopefully you remember that chapter. And the other one that I think you probably will want to cite is the one about choreography by Oh Ju-yeon, which we read 2 weeks ago. So talking about what is point choreography, what kinds of choreographic styles do you think are in the music video or the music video represents. So these 2 sources, I think, are probably the easiest for you to figure out a reason to cite them in your final paper. Now, on your rubric feedback, so you should have gotten a rubric that had your grade on it and explanation and everything. I tell you what kind of source I suggest that you look for to cite that we have not read in class yet. So definitely look at that and to get you some ideas. So for the final, you're going to be focused on what we've been doing last week and this week, and we'll continue to do even more so next week and the week after, which is interpretation. So making meaning out of your music video now. You know what happens in the music video, you know what all there is. Now you need to try and figure out what is the purpose of it, what's the meaning of it, right? A lot of you already started to do this, and you didn't have to do it for the midterm. So you want to look for a source outside of class that relates to the meaning that you think is being conveyed in the music video, or the way you want to make meaning out of the music video. Okay, so do we understand this requirement for the final? If you want help finding a source, I can help you. You may also want to ask people in the class to help you if they know anything. I know a lot of sources. I've been working on a page for Canvas that has some extra K-pop sources for you to look through as well, and I'll try and get that out. I can't guarantee that I'll get it out this week, but by next week, hopefully, yeah. What was I gonna say? The other thing is just go on the KU library website, the database, and type in try different keywords and see what all you can find. The source that you find outside of class, it doesn't have to be about K-pop necessarily. So some of you are talking about like mental health. So find a source that talks about representations of mental health. What does that source say about the way mental health is represented? How does that compare to this music video, right? It could be something like that. So, get kind of creative, and it doesn't just have to be a source about K-pop. Okay, so for the term paper, you need to use there's two versions of Chicago Manual of Style. So the reason we are using Chicago Manual of Style is because in art history, we use Chicago Manual of Style. There's a whole history behind it. I don't really know why that's the case, that's what art history does. A lot of the social sciences use Chicago Manual of Style. A lot of humanities do too. So art history is humanities, and it's arts and humanities, so that's probably why. But there's two kinds of Chicago Manual of Style, two versions of it. We are using the notes bibliography version. So what this means is you're going to have a notes section and a bibliography section. So do not use, you're going to see stuff. You're going to see stuff about author date. You just ignore it, completely ignore it, put it away from you. You do not need to know about this version of it. So don't even listen to it. So for this paper, so with notes bibliography, you can use footnotes or endnotes. For this paper, please use endnotes. I prefer it. I prefer to see all the notes together and it not blocking up the body text. It's just my preference. If you're using Word or Google, both of them have an endnote function. So you shouldn't really be doing too much, actually. It's not that difficult, I find. If you ever encounter issues understanding how to use it, look it up on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube or online before you email me about it. I know how to do everything for the most part. But yeah, use your sources before you come to me with this case. You may use a citation software like Zotero or EndNote. I use Zotero. If you ever pay attention on the library, they do Zotero and EndNote workshops, both of them. But please do not use an online website citation generator. As KU students, to my understanding, Zotero and EndNote, I know Zotero for sure, you have access to download the software onto your computer through some link on the library. If you look it up in Google, Zotero, KU, University of Kansas, I'm sure it will come up and you can use it. But do not use any of those websites like, I don't know, Biblio. I feel like there was something a while ago when I was in college called biblio.net or something like that. Don't use those. I guarantee you they're going to be incorrect. But I know for a fact that Zotero and EndNote as softwares, they actually do work. All right. So are there any questions about this? Besides, are they free? All right, so let's talk about EndNotes. So, okay, we'll talk about the midterm revision in once I'm finished with this. Thank you, though. We can talk about that. So, for the EndNotes, what you should do is put a superscript number, which it will do automatically if you're using Word or Google, at the end of the sentence after the period. So if you look at the article that we had today by Malianke, you'll see he does this, right? So we have this whole long line here. It ends with a period like every sentence, and then the number for the note is after the period. So make sure it's after the period. There should not be, for your paper, there should not be any numbers, any superscript numbers that are within the sentence. There should only be one superscript number, and it should be at the end of the sentence. And this superscript number will match up with the end note. So it'll be end note number 4, and then you'll put the end note citation in here. Okay. So if you're trying to explain something, some of you have already tried to do this in your midterm, so I'll just explain this here. If you want to add some information that's not necessarily important to your paper, in the same sentence that has a reference, put that end note, put that note information with the reference or with the citation in the end note, okay? So you can just like write your little note and then put a semicolon and then the citation. So end notes should be at the end of the paper, and they should be before the bibliography. This can be kind of difficult to get it to work in Word, I know. If you have problems with that, look it up on YouTube. They'll explain it to you. But you should be able to do that. I won't be, when I'm grading, I won't be such a stickler if you couldn't figure out the different things you're supposed to do to make the endnotes appear before your bibliography, but just make sure the endnotes are actually at the end, which they should automatically do. Okay, so citation formats. Today we're going to be talking about journal article. I'm going to show you journal article because in the module, most of them focus on books. So different types of sources have different formats. So the format of a citation for a book is different from the format of a citation for a scholarly article. Also, in all cases, regardless of the type of source it is, punctuation changes between the endnote and the bibliography format. So we'll see how this plays out. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So that's why I want to emphasize it here. So the endnote format. Sorry, let me get my notes here. So this is an example from which we just looked at. This is from the article we read. The format for an endnote on a scholarly article is author first name, last name. So Claudia Gorbman, comma, and then in quotation marks, not italicized, in quotation marks, the title of the article, comma, within the quotation marks, the journal name italicized, followed by the volume number. You don't put volume and then number, you just put the volume number, comma, and then the number. So in this case, this is like a special issue. So they put the title of the special issue. So that's here instead of a number, but usually you'll see on the journal, it'll say volume 60, number 3 or something like that. So you put NO period and then the number, and then in parentheses after you put the year, out of parentheses, colon, and then the page number that you referenced. So you can see that he did that here with this one. And in the bibliography, you'll notice it changes a good bit. The information that you use is basically the same, but the punctuation and the order of some things is a little bit different. So you change it back to author last name, comma, first name, and then it's a period. So not a comma between the author name and the title, just a period. And then like in the end notes, title of the journal article, period, in quotation marks. So again, period, not comma. Then like in the end note, the journal name is italicized, followed by the volume number. But here you do continue that comma. You use that comma, number, year, colon, and then you put all the page numbers that the article takes up in the original journal. Not just the ones that you referenced or you cited, but all of them. All right, does that make sense? You can always refer back to this, and this same thing is in the module as well. Or you'll be asked to look at this in the, you'll actually go on the Chicago Manual of Style in the library, and you'll see these examples, like these, okay? Obviously, this slide will always be there for you to refer back to as well. Good. All right. So let's try and figure out together. Let's see if we can come up with what would the endnote citation for the article we read this week look like. So here's the quote, and a lot of you actually mentioned this in your blog posts. Music has the potential to stir feelings on both conscious and subconscious levels, period. So here's all the things we need to find. So let's go into the article and let's find those things really quickly. So this is my highlighted article. So you'll notice this has a front page, and the front page is a great place to look for this information. So what is the author's name? Well, we know it's Roald Malianke, so we can put that in. And then, comma, what's for sale, in quotation marks. This is the title. You need to put this whole title, quotation marks, what's for sale, question mark, selling songs of K-pop idols and Korean commercials, comma, and then out of quotation marks. So what's the name of the journal? What do you think? What's the name of the journal? Korean Studies. Yeah, Korean Studies. So that's given to us here. The other place you can usually find it, not always, but usually is at the bottom of each of the pages. At the bottom, yeah, Korean Studies. Very good. And then this is given to us really easily. The volume number is what? Thank you again, Aaron. Yes. Yeah. Continue, as you find the things for yourself, continue to put them in the chat. 46. Good. Yes, 46. Volume 46. So then what is the number? What issue number is it? Let's see. Issue number. What do you think? Here's the information as well. So 2022 is not the issue. 2022 is the year. So do you see an issue number? Yes, very good, Cheney. Not applicable. No, not every journal has different issue numbers. So the answer is there is no issue number. So for the citation, you'll just put a comma and then you'll put the year. Allie direct messaged me and established that's 2022. So then the page number of this quote, I give this to you so you don't have to go looking for it, is 168. So what is this going to look like? Oh, I thought I'm not in my, sorry, I'm not in my presentation. It'll look like this. So Roald Malianke, this is for the endnote citation, comma, what's for sale, selling K-pop commercials, comma, quotation mark, Korean Studies, italicized, 46, comma, no issue number, and then in parentheses, 2022, colon, 168. DOIs. So DOIs are a link to, if you access a journal online, you can put the DOI link at the end of the citation. I'm not going to require you to do that, but you can if you want to. All right, great. Sorry. So if you need to go, you can go. If there's any questions, please stay back and ask me questions. I will be here. We can talk about revisions as well. But thank you all so much for this evening.